The reality is that there's so many other issues here. Defunding Planned Parenthood, executive order type stuff is among them beyond Roe v. Wade. So this is coming from a Christian. The very first comment on that video said something like, I wish more Christians would think about these issues like you have. And again, I'll reiterate this. I know these Christians in church who have just absolutely adopted the culture as their operating principle of theology, rather than actually grabbing a Bible and a conscience. So what was your response when you saw that video?
I mean, I had friends from college that I went to Westmont with who were like, isn't this such a thoughtful video? I was like, no, this is blatant bigotry. Like, oh my gosh, like open your Bible, like, be a little more thoughtful. And Lecrae reshared this. Lecrae loves Phil Vischer. Lecrae should actually be under church discipline right now, by the way, for campaigning with Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, the two pro-abortion infanticidal maniacs in Georgia who got both Senate seats, which now has endangered preborn children in the state of Georgia significantly more. And guess what? Because those guys both run their Senate seats, this was a special election runoff in January, you remember? That was going to dictate the balance of power in the Senate. Because they both won their Senate seats, the Senate goes 50-50 with Kamala Harris the tie-breaking vote. Lecrae helped give one of the greatest gifts to the party of death in the abortion industry in decades, which is to put the most pro-abortion politician in American history, Kamala Harris, as the tie-breaking vote in the Senate. That's thanks to Lecrae. He should be under church discipline right now for that. And he says he's pro-life. Pathetic. Phil Vischer says he's pro-life. Pathetic. Phil Vischer is a bigot. And let me tell you what I mean by that, because now people are like, oh, Seth's resorting to ad hominem attacks. No, I'm not. What is bigotry? Bigotry is the discrimination against someone else for being different, right, Reed? It's discriminating against someone else for being different.
Yeah, ideological bigotry.
Well, particularly though, if that discrimination is based off of immutable characteristics, right? That's why racism is so disgusting and why it's an affront to human dignity, because our Black brothers and sisters don't have any control over their skin color, right? And then if you discriminate against a woman because she's a woman, that's particularly nasty because she has no control over her gender. So bigotry becomes, the most nasty forms of it are when it's based off of something you have no control over, immutable characteristics.
Right.
And so pro-choicers are actually bigots, right? Because they discriminate against the unborn based off of their size, their level of development, the fact that they're in the location of a womb, and because they're more dependent on their mothers. These are immutable characteristics. So Phil Vischer is a soft bigot because he says he's pro-life, but he doesn't believe that the unborn is intrinsically valuable enough to warrant political protection.
Yeah.
And why does he not believe that they're valuable enough to warrant political protection? Because he said vote for Democrats, the very party who denies political protection to the unborn.
Now, just to not to push back, but for clarification, did he actually endorse voting for Democrats? I know he was trying to injure. That's the implication, right? But did he actually say that?
Yeah, when you create a video as a Christian as to why it's justified to vote for Democrats, okay, dude, I mean, maybe you didn't say vote for Joe Biden, but by the way, Lecrae essentially did. Lecrae was helping campaign for pro-abortion Democrats, which is as an approval of their run, and you want people to vote for them. So maybe Phil Vischer didn't say that, but he makes an apologetics case for why it's okay for Christians to vote for Democrats, the very party that denies political protection.
By the way, and as a side note, using false statistics, he suggested that Roe v. Wade would only impact abortions by 12%, and then like healthcare in Maryland would impact abortions by like 37%. Like nationally, bro, or are we talking like in a county? You're just lying, and then he doesn't even cite where the statistics come from.
That's right. So let's dive into that. But first, I just wanted to say that Phil Vischer is actually a bigot. Like if you say that a certain class of human beings are human beings, but that they don't deserve protection in our laws, then you're a soft bigot because you're saying that, they have some dignity, like they have some value, Reed, but like not enough value to get protection in our laws. Then like you're a soft bigot. Like maybe it's not hard bigotry that says that the unborn isn't a person, but it's still soft bigotry. Okay.
Yeah.
So what does he say about this? He says, vote for Democrats because Democratic policies decrease abortion. And look at this chart I found over here somewhere. It shows that when Democrats are in control, their policies decrease the abortion rate. Well, firstly, like you said, it's actually a straw man because the goal of the pro-life movement, Reed, is not to decrease abortions. It's to make abortion illegal.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And unthinkable. unthinkable, meaning that not only do we want to pass laws to protect the preborn, like we actually want to communicate to the next generation and rebuild the social fabric and the moral compass of the country so that they'll hate abortion. Like we want abortion to be as horrific in the minds of Americans as slavery is today.
Yeah.
That means making it unthinkable. So question, Reed, can you make abortion unthinkable as long as you vote for the Democratic Party, allow them to dwell in positions of political power when their platform refers to murdering the preborn as reproductive health care?
Yeah.
As long as you allow the euphemisms of choice to disciple the next generation of Americans, they will continue to think about abortion as merely reproductive health care rather than genocide. And so law functions as a teacher, Reed, right? Aristotle made this point. Aristotle once said that statecraft is soulcraft. Statecraft is soulcraft. What did he mean by that? Well, he meant that the state, through its policies and legislation, dictate what kind of behaviors are acceptable and not acceptable in a civilized society. So law functions as a teacher. Law teaches the society, and particularly the next generation, that, hey, these behaviors are evil. These behaviors are good, right? The law wants to encourage the good and punish evil, right? Yeah. And the Bible talks about that. The Bible also said the state doesn't bear the sword in vain. So there's a role for the state to punish evil and evildoers and to promote the good. And so, question, Reed, do you think America was ready for abolition? No, America wasn't ready for abolition. Didn't we fight a war over it? What was it called? The Civil War. I guess we were pretty divided, and the social fabric was not ready for the abolition of slavery. But guess what? Lincoln and the abolitionists, Reed, stepped in anyways and said, we are banning slavery now because this is disgusting and evil.
Come on.
And then it took 100 years to rebuild the social fabric, didn't it? So slavery gets banned in, is it 1865?
Yeah, I think you're right about that, yeah.
65. Civil Rights Act, 1964, right? 99 years between when slavery is made illegal and when blacks actually have full equality before the law. So that took a long time, didn't it? But wasn't it a good thing that the politics stepped in, that the state stepped in, that laws were passed saying you cannot treat black individuals like this? But I want you and your listeners to think about something. It would have taken a lot longer for blacks to achieve full equality before the law if we hadn't banned slavery, Reed.
Right.
So it still took us 99 years with banning slavery. How much longer do you think it would have taken to get to the Civil Rights Act if we hadn't used the law through political power, through Republicans wielding political power to ban slavery in 1864?
Yeah, and just to reiterate, the goal here is not less abortions. The goal here is to get rid of abortion.
To make it illegal and unthinkable.
Completely.
So you can't make abortion illegal, Reed, by voting for the party whose freaking platform says abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy and funded with your tax dollars, you Republican bigot, Reed. You can't make abortion legal by voting for that party.
No.
And so while we might celebrate some decreases in abortion, Reed, that's not our goal. And then you also can't accomplish our second goal of making it unthinkable if you vote for the very party who describes that procedure as reproductive justice and helps craft curriculum for our public schools that say abortion is reproductive health care and women need abortion to be fully equal to men. So it's a straw man. You can't actually achieve what you want by voting for Democrats. But the stats and the claims, Reed, they're actually false. The claim that abortions decrease under Democrats ignores the fact that abortions have been decreasing, Reed, across partisan presidents.
That's right.
So you had Reagan, right? And then you had Clinton, and you had the Bushes, you had Obama. The whole time, the abortion rate was decreasing.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't purely apply that purely to Democrats.
Yeah, and I looked this up too, Seth. So I wanted to mention this. I looked this up too. So hold on to that thought. I looked this up too. Multiple articles confirm that it's certainly not Planned Parenthood not trying to do their job that abortions are going down. The reason abortion is going down is just simply that people are having less children. Has nothing to do with the abortion industry not going into high gear and continuing to do everything that they've done since they've been in motion. So So it's just absolutely a false claim that it doesn't matter who's in office, that abortions are going to keep on going at pace. It just simply has to do with a more cultural phenomenon than it does with who's president.
It's a few things. People are having less children. Pro-life laws are actually effective in saving many children as well. And thirdly, the invention of the ultrasound and ultrasonography that has forced the American public to look at what the child looks like at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 weeks old has humanized the child in a way that we haven't been able to before. And that significantly decreased the abortion rate. And also pregnancy resource centers now outnumber abortion clinics 2-to-1. And there's been an 80% growth of pregnancy resource centers between 1980 and today. And so these are clinics that provide all of their resources for free and all of the non-controversial healthcare services that Planned Parenthood provides, minus the baby murdering part. And so more pregnancy centers, more ultrasonography, more humanizing pictures of the child, more pro-life laws, and people having less children. On top of all of that, Reed, Bill Clinton in 2000, when he became president, said that states no longer had to report their abortion data. And so states are not required to report their abortion data. Want to guess the names of any of the states, Reed, that don't report their abortion data? California, New York, Virginia, some of the states that kill the most preborn children. So now we just kind of have to guess. We kind of have to guess the numbers of abortions. So Bill Clinton and Democrats weren't responsible for decreasing the abortion. States just stopped reporting their abortion data and then got credited with decreasing the abortion rate. So the whole claim is fallacious the whole way through, but primarily because it's a straw man. We don't want to decrease abortions. We want to ban it, and you can't ban it by voting for the party who literally say at the top of their platform, we're going to protect abortion. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, Reid, have said that they're going to codify it into federal law so that states who pass pro-life laws, every single one will be deemed unconstitutional, despite the fact that many of them are already deemed unconstitutional. Well, you can't make abortion illegal by doing that. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is that Phil Vischer ignores the fact that law functions as a teacher, as I said. And so if you want to humanize the child, restore dignity and legal protections to the unborn child, the law is actually part of the role. The law plays a role in humanizing and restoring the social fabric of America.
What he does is he does something called reductio ad absurdum, which in debate is a logical fallacy. He reduces the argument of Republicans to the most ridiculous version of the argument, which I really don't think. Again, I'm appealing to experience, but also I have 18 years of ministry, going all over the world speaking to Christians, and I know we talk about it, but I don't know a single Christian that says my one issue vote for pro-life is that they will overturn Roe v. Wade. There's not a single Christian that is voting based upon Roe v. Wade. They're simply doing it based upon the atrocity of pro-choice and the death of the unborn. And quite frankly, I'm appalled that a Christian would suggest that is not sufficient basis for being able to be a one-issue voter. And so as a Christian, if that isn't the right basis for being a one-issue voter, I would love to know what is. It's like the non-Jesus party. Do we have to invent that for it to be a one-issue party?
Phil Vischer is actually using a racist slavery strategy in that argument. And I'll finish with this, just to really make sure your listeners understand what a bigot Phil Vischer is. So did you know that many racists, Reed, they actually argued while during the abolitionist movement, while Lincoln and others were trying to abolish slavery, do you know what they would argue many times? They would say that, hey, in states that favor abolition, we're actually seeing an increase in the rise of racial violence and the death of Black individuals. Why, Reed? Well, because those pesky Republicans, those GOP people, they're creating tension amongst the culture and societies that are very comfortable to slavery because they're very accustomed to it. And by favoring abolition, it's creating racial tension. And so you're actually more likely to get increased rates of racial violence in states that favor abolition. And so if you really want to decrease the instances of racial violence, Reed, you'll vote for Democrats, the party of slavery, because while they're enslaving Black human beings and calling their murder, just plantation care and economic rights, don't worry, they'll take care of their slaves a little better. but it's really actual racial murder and racially motivated violence that's happening in states that favor abolition. Yeah. So reject the GOP's plan of abolishing slavery and vote for Democrats. Very similar thing when Phil Vischer says, hey, if you want to decrease the rates of fetal violence, you'll actually vote for Democrats whose policies have been shown to decrease the abortion rate. What a stupid argument to make. And so this guy can only make that argument, Reed, by assuming that the unborn is not fully human or possessed of the same rights as you and I, because we know that Phil Vischer, in his sanctimonious piety and his moral clarity on slavery in 2021, he wrote the piece in 2020, would never say that he couldn't be a single issue voter in 1858 or 1860, right? We all know Phil Vischer would be like, oh yeah, obviously slavery functions as a litmus test of the republic. And I would totally be a single issue voter. In fact, I would probably say that Christians had a moral obligation to vote for Abraham Lincoln because of the scourge that slavery represented on our country. Yeah. Well, one could argue, Reed, that abortion is more evil than slavery, because while it's wrong for the same reasons, slavery doesn't always result in the murder of slaves. Abortion always results in the murder of the unborn.
You can catch brand new episodes of Indie Thinker with Reed Huberman every Monday and weekly bonus episodes to keep you thinking throughout the week. But you have to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when new episodes drop. If you enjoy this content, make sure to like this video and share it with friends.